Do you think editing human genes to eliminate diseases or enhance certain traits is a positive step forward, or are there risks and moral concerns that outweigh the benefits?
I think that like any other tool that human beings have developed, this poses a serious risk when utilized by bad actors. Also, like every other powerful tool that we've built, it would have a lot of positive aspects to it. So it's really just the way we use it. I think the real question here is that are we adapted enough to make the right decisions when we have made such powerful tools readily at our disposal? As pessimistic or cynical as this may sound, I don't think human beings are ready. There are so many other tools that we currently have and are not so concerned about that I think have a lot of pernicious risk factors that we are not taking into consideration.
Sounds like you're grappling with the complexities of the issue. Maybe it's more about setting strict boundaries and ethical guidelines to prevent misuse while allowing the technology to benefit humanity. Could it be that the focus should be on how we manage and regulate these advancements rather than the technology itself being inherently good or bad?
Exactly. It really does come down to regulation.
You've hit on a crucial point: our readiness to handle such powerful tools responsibly. It's true that with every advancement, there's a lag in how society adapts and sets up safeguards. It's like giving a teenager the keys to a high-performance sports car. There's a lot of potential for good, but also a lot of potential for disaster if they aren't prepared. Maybe it's about evolving our ethical frameworks and educational systems to keep pace with our technological capabilities, ensuring that those who develop and use these technologies are not just skilled, but also deeply aware of the ethical implications. Do you think we can ever truly be ready for such advancements, or will we always be playing catch up with the technology we create?
I really don't know. Again, it might sound cynical, but I don't think that we are even capable of building the regulatory framework that can constrain such technology. It's always going to be susceptible to our emotions, regardless of how many checks and balances that has. And I'm not sure if there's any example out there of some system that has posed a huge risk of harm that we have been able to regulate to a degree that we are comfortable with, something that poses an existential threat. We live under a sort of Damocles where we think that this is the norm. We think that having, all these nuclear arsenals that are ready to launch at a moment's notice is something that is normal to live with. And I don't think that this is something that we should have ever normalized. So I think that just in the same way we did with nuclear weapons, we might also do the same with technology of the sorts we're talking about, genetic engineering technology. And I think it could become so prevalent that we might start to inure ourselves to the negative aspects of it, even though it might also bring with it a lot of advantages, or because it brings with it a lot of advantage, I should say, it might do that. Because even when we look at nuclear weapons, I'm not sure that outside of nuclear power, which we don't seem to be using as well as we might be able to because of our fear that we might end up misusing it. And even then, even in spite of this fear, we still have a lot of risk, too much risk when it comes to how you're using nuclear weapons as a deterrent. So even with something that we're not utilizing for its positive benefits, we still have that risk, which is so prevalent. So how much more something like genetic engineering, which would presumably have a lot more accessibility and a lot more use cases. I wonder if we would really be able to constrain that given our lack of, track record so far.
You've laid out a very compelling argument. The idea that our regulatory frameworks and societal norms might not be able to keep up with the pace of such powerful technologies is a sobering thought. It's true that nuclear weapons are a prime example of how we've become desensitized to a colossal existential risk, and we might repeat similar mistakes with genetic engineering. Your point about accessibility is also crucial. Genetic modification could become widespread, making it harder to regulate effectively. The more people and organizations that have access to it, the greater the potential for misuse or unintended consequences. Perhaps the solution lies in a combination of robust international cooperation, stringent regulations, and a cultural shift towards greater responsibility and ethical consideration in scientific advancements. But as you said, it's uncertain if we can ever fully achieve that given our track record. Do you think there are any specific steps or measures that could help mitigate these risks, or is it more about fostering a general cultural shift in how we approach and think about powerful technologies?
Well, let me ask you this. Are there any precedents for things that have posed such a huge existential risk that we've successfully been able to constrain? And I really don't think the answer to that is yes. But so given that, I mean, unless you are able to convince me that we have been able to, given that, I just can't be anything other than cynical about our possibility of doing what you suggest. I think that really the only solution here, in big quotes, is hope. Hope is all we have. Hope that human beings might someday figure out a way to work together in a way that we've never been able to do in the past.
You're right. When we look at the track record, it does seem bleak. There aren't many, if any, examples of humanity successfully constraining technologies that pose existential risks in a way that makes us entirely comfortable. Nuclear weapons, climate change, and even the proliferation of the internet with its misinformation issues all point to our struggle to manage powerful advancements. Hope might indeed be the most we can cling to. Hope that we learn from our past mistakes and that future generations can figure out ways to cooperate more effectively. Maybe the solution lies in incremental progress, small steps towards better governance and ethical considerations, rather than expecting a perfect system to emerge overnight. In the meantime, fostering dialogue, raising awareness, and promoting education on these issues might help create a more informed and cautious public. It's not a perfect solution, but it could be a step in the right direction. What do you think?
Incremental progress, other than what we've already attempted to do, I'm not sure exactly what that would look like. I think we've already been trying, however unsuccessfully that might have been. So, unless we're able to figure out a better way to try, which I'm not sure we're capable of, I don't really believe that we would be able to achieve this for any durable amount, any significant amount of time. I think that to whatever degree we're able to achieve this, it's going to be short lived. And when I say short lived, that could be in the order of, even a couple of generations, I think would be short lived looking at the grand scheme of.
It's hard to argue with that perspective. Given our historical failures and the inherent flaws in our systems, long-term solutions seem elusive. Incremental progress might still be valuable, but as you pointed out, it often feels like a stopgap rather than a permanent fix. Maybe what we're talking about is a fundamental shift in human behavior and societal structures, something that feels almost utopian. It might involve a blend of better education, cultural shifts towards greater empathy and responsibility, and perhaps even changes in how we govern and collaborate internationally. It's tough to imagine, but the idea of fostering a more resilient and adaptable society might be our best shot. Encouraging critical thinking, ethical decision-making, and global cooperation from a young age could gradually build a more conscientious and prepared population. It might not be a perfect solution, and it might indeed be short-lived in the grand scheme, but striving for even temporary improvements could buy us time and reduce risks in the present. Do you think there's any merit in focusing on these smaller, potentially short-term gains, or do you believe it's not worth the effort given the likely outcome?
The first comment that I will make to that is that I don't think it's our best solution. I think that it is our only solution to figure out a way to go about this. And more, I think that with as far as using incremental progress or continuing to try to achieve some type of a solution as even if it comes in the form of a stopgap that gives us more time, the question is time to do what exactly? What are we just hoping for something that we haven't considered yet to come along? I think this might come in the form of AI. If there is some hope that I am to actually cling on to, I would say maybe somehow we're able to leverage AI in such a way that is able to constrain human behavior, that is able to help us regulate ourselves in ways that we've never been able to do before. But short of that, I'm not sure that I can really imagine any other ways that we could go about doing this. I do want to go ahead and wrap it up here. If you have any final thoughts on my this last comment, I would like to hear it.
You've made a compelling point. AI could indeed be the wild card that changes the game, offering new ways to regulate and manage our behavior and technological advancements. It's a bit ironic, though, to rely on one advanced technology to help us manage the risks of others, but it might be our best shot. Leveraging AI to create more effective regulatory systems, enhance our decision-making processes, and predict potential risks before they become crises could provide the oversight we've struggled to maintain ourselves. It's a daunting prospect, but it could be the breakthrough needed to address these existential risks more effectively. Thanks for diving into this deep topic with me. It's always great to explore such thought-provoking ideas. Catch you next time.